want to open up this work session and automatically just turn it straight over to Dr. Thomas.
Yay! Thank you, Ms. Gibson. And so today we are blessed to have with us our new special ed director, Michael Baker, and some students from high school as well. And so one of the things that at the start of the school year, we had some initiatives that Christy Bone wanted to implement in terms of opportunities for some of our students to get some employment skills while they're still in high school with us. And so with us today is Mr. Baker, and Mr. Baker is going to talk to us a little bit about our PrEP initiative and our FORCE initiative. And we've got some special students here to help us articulate and explain exactly what they're doing. So, Mr. Baker, I'll turn it over to you, okay?
Woohoo! That's quite the introduction. I'm just going to talk really quickly because the stars are right here. So, like Dr. Thomas mentioned, end of last year, start of this year, we have talked with our community partners and our parents, and we realized there's more we could do with our population. So we visited a nearby county in Murray County, and then we came back and we have a different population, larger population, and we kind of aligned our plan with what kind of matches Dr. Thomas's E's, which would be, in this case, employment or enrollment, depending on what way they go, like our amount and that type of thing. So I'm going to stop talking because they have a phenomenal presentation. I'll turn it over to Ms. Coker and her team.
All right. Hi, my name is Michaela Cox. I am with the PrEP program at PHS.
My name is Robert.
My name is Braden.
We are a vocational program for students with different disabilities. PrEP is designed to better life for after high school. PrEP helps enhance our vocational skills with on-campus learning and off-campus learning. Some of the skills we have explored on campus, we've learned to sublimate, we can do t-shirts, we can do car coasters, mouse pads, earrings, keychains. We have a coffee cart, we do dragon snacks, in October we do like a little Halloween goodie bag candy service. We do, around Christmas, we do custom made centerpieces. And not only do we help plan school events, we help decorate for school events like homecoming and for basketball senior night. Community-based learning is where we will go off campus. Monday we will go to Ingalls and get our dragon snack ingredients. Tuesday we'll come to central office and do shredding and work on our communication skills. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are Chick-fil-A days. Those days we help not only prep Chick-fil-A, we help sell Chick-fil-A. We run it out of our classroom. FORCE is a program designed to provide strategy, skills, and opportunities to support students in their post-secondary activities. FORCE offers a deeper level of support to our exceptional students. Like my friends here, Braden and Robert, are in the FORCE program. Some of the skills we have learned are home living, community living, lifelong learning, employment, health and safety, and social skills. And some of the skills we have explored on campus are package delivering, navigation of the school, set up for school events like homecoming, food preparation, sorting through clothes, restocking printers. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Baker.
Braden, what are you doing after high school?
Takamak. And graduation.
What are you going to do there?
Takamak. Disney World.
What are you gonna do at Taco Mac?
Where Braden's going to work.
Braden's gonna work at Taco Mac.
What are you going to do there?
I'm hoping to be a baker. And the skill set I have now that we do with Dragon Stacks, I hope will follow with me so I can build a career and be a baker and open my own store called Kayla Cakes.
That's awesome.
So those really good chocolate chip cookies that I had, did you fix those?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good enough.
Oh wait, this is gonna make y'all's day.
Alright, so they actually made you something to take home today.
Can I explain? Yes. This is one of our sublimation projects, along with the t-shirt I have on. We sublimated these mouse pads for y'all.
That is so cool.
This has been very popular.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Baker, thank you for facilitating this, and Ms. Coker, thank you for arranging the students to be here
My
today.
name is Princess Giselle
Thank
from Enchanted. Zecora. Zecora? There's Zecora.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
We'll make sure they get a break. It should say 25 cents for that.
Thank you.
Let's get them.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Ms. Coker.
Thank you, Ms. Coker.
Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Princess Giselle.
Yeah, follow that, Don. Go ahead. Thanks.
Well, we're very grateful for Ms. Bone and Mr. Baker and Ms. Coker and all of our staff that helped make that possible for our kids. And that was, we wanted to get them in and just have a little time with them before the end of the school year. And really grateful for what they're doing for our students there. So I appreciate Mr. Baker making that happen. The next item on the agenda is really just an information item, and it's regarding summer school. And so I just want to share a little bit of information with you, or I should say summer camp as opposed to summer school. And this is just some information for you. So we do have summer camp that will be occurring this summer, starting on June the 3rd and running for 8 days. At the junior high, we typically, we've done this before, we're doing a little bit shorter time period this summer compared to last summer. We've got roughly 125 students who are enrolled at this time, and our theme is STEAM, and so our students will be participating in activities every day during those 8 days that have something to do with team building, electronics, robotics, art, math, and then overall STEAM activities. We do have a couple of directors, Miranda Combs and Beth LaFon Nash. They're the camp directors. Ms. Wilkins is helping with leadership on that as well. We have Gail Smith will be the nurse on staff, and then Jennifer Denson will be the office clerk. And we do have transportation provided if parents need that. So I just want to keep this more of an informational item. It is something that we have offered in the past, and we're continuing that this summer. So any questions on our summer camp at all? Okay, all right. Very good. And then our next item on the agenda, just another informational item. Our school district, Pickens County School District, we are a strategic waiver district. Okay, and so one of the things that we've done over the course of the middle part of the spring is we have submitted another application for waivers, and we received feedback on our application yesterday, and so I'm in the process now of kind of taking that feedback and then making the edits that need to be done. But by the end of this month, we will need to have formal approval of those waivers, and there'll need to be a board resolution as well. So I'm just kind of letting you know that that's on the agenda, and on the horizon. I hope to have this to us by Thursday, so we can adopt it Thursday night at our board meeting. Okay.
Did you apply for the same
I did.
categories of waivers?
Same categories of waivers, absolutely. So, and I've got a meeting with one of our contacts at the DOE on Tuesday to kind of help me revise. But again, I'm hoping that we can have this on our agenda and approve it Thursday night, and then that will be for the next 6 years is our contract. Okay, it's just information on that. All right. Any questions about that? Okay. Then as we continue through our agenda, I do want to move into the next goal area is engagement and communication. And this time we're going to have some discussion about this program called CLC. It stands for Christian Learning Center. And several districts throughout the state actually have a CLC, and specifically to the north of us. Gilmer County has one, and so does Fannin County. And actually, I think Gilmer's had one for like decades, I believe. They've had one for quite a while. And when I worked in Carroll, actually, we started one in Carroll County last year as well. The CLC, it's a community-generated program. It is totally separate from our school system. But students can decide to take courses on the Bible, okay? And they do that for elective credit. And the CLC is it's a nonprofit 501c3 release time program. The courts approved it. The CLC has a teacher, has its own place for students to meet, provides transportation if needed. But it's interesting because there's several districts in Georgia that have this. Okay, and so one of the things I think we discussed this definitely individually, maybe collectively too, is I'd like to start thinking about this for our community. And back in June, Tommy introduced me to a gentleman named Don Bogus, and actually introduced me to the Last Catch that same day. So I appreciate both of those. But Don's with us here today, and so Don and I have had some conversation about this starting in June, and then we actually had some conversation later in the fall at the Ag Show in February. And so, because again, this is a community-generated program, okay, and it's separate from the school system. But I've asked Don to kind of share some more information about the CLC with us today. So Don, we'll go ahead and call you up.
While he's coming up, Dr. Thomas, would you tell us what CLC stands for?
Sure. It stands for Christian Learning Center.
Okay.
Christian Learning Center. Mm-hmm.
And I've got handouts that'll help that you can take with you too.
Thank you, sir.
Just to prove it to you, I can't operate the copier at work.
You're far more advanced than a lot of
Just to give you a little background, on, prior to Dr. Thomas and I talking, this is, well, first of all, a lot of y'all know this. I've just got such a passion for kids and helping kids. But how far back this goes had been laid on my heart before Dr. Thomas and I started talking about it. When John Trammell was chair of this board, he and I talked about this and talked about trying to get it implemented. And back then, the way that the local school was reimbursed from the state, the FTE was calculated very differently than it is now. Matter of fact, it was calculated by the number, the way the FTE was calculated was by the number of kids' butts in the seats per teaching period, as opposed to the way it's taught now. And so to take those kids out of the seats and take them off campus to go teach them in the CLC was going to be impactful to the school system in terms of the state reimbursement. Well, one of my real good friends and business partners is a guy named Mike Royal, and Mike has been on the state school board and actually served in the chairman position probably 3 years, and was in that line to serve as chair of the state school board for a number of years. And matter of fact, this is going to be his last year because he's termed out in that number of years. I think he was served under 3 different governors, so he's been connected at the state level very well. And not just because I brought this issue to him back then, but I did bring it to him, but that old way of calculating the FTE impacted a lot of different things, including dual enrollment, including other release time programs. And so Mike made it his mission to get that calculation changed. And so he did while he served on the state school board. And it was really his influence that got that calculation changed. So now the way the FTE is calculated, and that count happening twice a year, and the way that count does happen, it doesn't impact the way that the school's going to be reimbursed. Thank goodness. So, but that tells you, if you remember how long ago John Trammell served as chairman, you remember, that'll tell you how long we've worked on this and how long it's been on my heart. I would have brought this back before then, but life's gotten in the way and my sickness got in the way and everything. And so when Dr. Thomas brought it up, I was like, okay, this is a way of telling me that this is the right time to bring it back. And we kept talking about it. And when you said, hey, come to the work session and let's talk about it. And well, again, this is, y'all probably know me well enough too, those that know me, that, when I start doing it, then let's really get behind it and do it. Well, I've had the materials. I went back up to LJ yesterday and just refreshed my mind on everything. And, we've got their full support and all their resources as well. So it's not like we're having to just start from scratch. And we can tap their curriculum. We can tap, we've got we don't have to recreate building design. We've got so much resources behind us, not with just theirs, but we've also got the guy that was one of their initial executive directors, Sid Webb, and Sid came along, and then he served in a nonprofit that helped plant them over the state of Georgia. Sid lives in Colorado now, but we've got him as a great resource as well. So we've got great resources to get this done. I literally think we could have this ready to go in the August of 25. Okay, yeah, that's aggressive, but that's the way I tend to do things. Okay, so that's kind of the way I would look at it, and that's kind of the background. I just want to kind of talk from, and I'm not going to read to you, but just kind of go through and talk from behind the cover letter is a 2-page Q&A, and again, I'm not going to read to you. This release time goes back to a 1950-something Supreme Court decision, and that's what makes it legal. That because it's going off campus, that's what gets the separation between religion and state, and it is an academic class, and it becomes back behind everything. There's a syllabus for an example of a class, and you'll see there is a basis of an academic class in there, but then it is also being taught in a way that you can work in prayer and you can work in, it's not being taught in just a pure academic basis, in that because you can have that prayer and because it is off campus, these teachers aren't tied by the same red tape that teachers on campus are, and that they can do it in a way that they can truly show that more of a loving environment than just being on campus can, okay? And when I start talking about the benefits, I'll point out that why that's important. But the funding is provided all by the nonprofit. We raise our own funds. The liability, we would transport them from the front door of the school to the facility. When I was ready to do this the first time, I was talking to the Tate heirs about getting property that literally is right there at the school. I will pursue that again. And so that much like both Fannin and Gilmer County, you spend very little time actually in the transportation side of it. I'm optimistic that we can probably accomplish that. So again, we would have that same arrangement, and that would be the ideal, again, that you're not wasting teaching period in terms of wasting it in transportation. I was talking to Jennifer, we were talking about, when we did it before, how much this community's changed, and this was, before when I did it, and when John Trammell was here, of course, John's passed away. I had Lawton Baggs, I had Don Russell, and some of those guys that were ready to support and ready to raise money, and well, all those guys are gone. But I know the guys I turn to now and that I go to get support. I've already mentioned to some of them, I will have the community support, and I already know that I've got some of that community support. So getting the community support, I know I don't have that trouble getting. But I'll come back to the impact on students when I talk about the impact. But in terms of getting them to class, yes, the CLC, we'll probably do it with vans or if it's a bus, it's probably that smaller bus, because you get to the bigger bus, you have to have the CDL, so it probably is the vans. In terms of maintaining the accountability, the CLC, we maintain a board of directors, and that board maintains the fiduciary duty over all of it. But it's not just the board that we do. We still have we're still reporting to y'all. We're still reporting to the community. We're still reporting to the donors. So there's oversight all the way around, just like any nonprofit that I've been involved in. The kids come to the CLC. In here, one of the questions, and I don't see it right in front of them, one of the questions is, why do they come to it? Well, and the answer was, well, they come to it because they want to study the Bible. No, they come to it because it's off campus. It's an elective and it's off campus. That's why they come to it, right? And but then they get to it, and we can start talking about the benefits. And the benefits is that we can look at it two ways. Number one is what's the benefits to it from the board looking at it from the school system standpoint? Well, you've got a class that's being paid for and absorbed by not having the taxpayers having to pay for it, right? You've got the building, you've got the teachers, you've got all the other overhead, the papers, the toilet paper, and all that stuff, right? So that's the obvious and the easy, right?
Don, you said a while ago about the oversight. How does that work? Does that have any, do we have any influence in that, or you understand my question? Do we have any influence in seeing how the schools run and operated? Like today, I went into a number of our schools and talked to the principals and walked through and talked to their classes and stuff. Is that?
Joe, I'm gonna say yes and no.
Okay.
Okay. It is certainly yes from the standpoint, can you walk in there and look and make suggestions and all? No from the standpoint of, no, I don't think that any of y'all would want to sit on that board of directors, because I think there would be definitely a conflict of interest.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that, but I'm just talking about coming in and seeing how that.
Yes, I think it's absolutely would be open for y'all coming in and seeing how it works and seeing how it operates and all.
Okay, that's what I was.
And, you know, and absolutely, you know, the way I see the relationship up at Gilmer County, they've got such an open relationship with the school system. They're communicating back and forth all the time, you know, because the registrations are open with each other. They're communicating. There's some of the testimonies that I hear up there, and that's some of the things I wanted to point out to. You know, there's situations of abuse that are discovered, and because of the openness on the CLC side, that you don't necessarily get within the school system, come to light on the CLC side, but then have to be reported through the school system.
I know the LJ one, I know a couple of the teachers up there. Buddy Smith's one of them, good guy. But anyway, long story short, they're 100% transparent.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. It's absolutely got to be that way.
Okay.
Yes. I very much believe in that.
Okay.
Yep. But that's the benefits I'm talking about. You know, on the CLC side is the teachers and the director, they're listening for those personal needs side as well as the academic side. They're listening for the needs at home, the lack of food, the lack of clothing, and helping provide those things if there are needs that necessarily the academic teachers might not hear in the classroom.
Gotcha.
So that's the type of things. And they're also in the CLC, they're and in that package you'll see that through some of the coursework, they're also teaching those service responsibilities and giving back to the community type things, teaching those types of things as well on top of the academic teachings. Okay.
Don, I don't know if you necessarily have this information, but how many students in Gilmer County are involved with the CLC there?
They're running right over 500 a year in Gilmer County. Now they're in Gilmer County. They've got it at both the high school and the middle school now. Okay. And you don't have to turn here right now. The next to the last page on there, and it's the color page. Don't tell Jennifer I copied stuff in color because it costs 6 cents a page. That page talks about mental health, and I'm not telling y'all anything y'all don't know, and especially since COVID, mental health in our adolescent age kids, and I'm calling through high school our adolescent age kids, has just skyrocketed. I mean, it's gone absolutely off the charts. And depending on what study you're looking at over what time period, I mean, it's unreal where it's gotten to and where it's heading to. And it's literally reaching crisis level. And I've actually seen this part up close, is even if school counselors are identifying it, oftentimes parents aren't taking the time to go get the treatment, you know. And so CLC is helping some of that. It's not, by all means, it's not the answer, but what I'm saying is this is part of the answer. It's a very, very small part of the answer. So I just want to point that out as well. I'm also, and just a side note, we're working on and it is with Mike Royal as well, but we're working on a telehealth, mental health platform. We're already in 154 schools with it, but it's where then all the parent has to do is sign the consent, and we can get that child the treatment without the kid having to leave school. Because what we're seeing is kids are missing 14 days of school because of that mental health, and they're not even receiving treatment. They're just missing 14 days of school is what the statistics are saying. And you take anxiety and depression, and it's somewhere between 20 and 30% of kids right now. And that's with that anxiety. And that's not just normal anxiety, that's advanced anxiety. I mean, it's crisis. It is just crisis right now. So CLC can help that, because these teachers can help identify, and with what they're teaching with Christ, they can help address some of that.
One more, so I assume that means that every teacher and every person that's at the school are mandated reporters as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to know, you talked about the buildings. I'll just start at the top of my list. I have like 4 or 5 questions if you have time. You said the building design. How large of a building do you normally have?
The one up at Gilmer County is about 5,000 square feet.
Okay. And you said the building, you try to have it close to a school?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned transporting these students in vans. Who's going to own the vans?
It would be the CLC.
CLC would own the vans.
Yes.
And would you have CLC drivers?
Yes.
Okay. Who teaches your classes?
It would be the teachers employed by the CLC.
Okay. What are their qualifications?
You know, what's ideal to me, what we would seek first is some retired teachers.
Okay. What kind of training? I mean, if they're retired public school teachers, many of our teachers are Christians, and they are grounded in the faith, but what sort of training in theology do these teachers have before they come into a classroom to teach these topics to the students?
Yep. That I can't answer yet.
Okay.
Yep. I won't give you an answer if I don't know that answer yet. That's detail I don't know yet.
Okay. Because this is just all really new information for me, so I'm just gonna lay down here. I'm not really playing. And you said Gilmer has approximately 500 students, so we could potentially have 500 as well. Would this class be for the students like twice a week, like some of their electives?
I would assume that again, here, and I shouldn't make assumptions, but I would assume it works like that. I would assume our initial launch is one class the first year.
Okay. When you, how much do you think you'll be using your building? And it's not my business, I'm just curious. If you have one class, then the teachers go home and the building is empty, or do you try to stagger the classes so that a smaller facility is used more often?
Now, say that
Want me
again.
to say that again? I'm not sure if I can. When you have your building and you're having your classes, are there classes nearly every day, all day, or is it just one class per day, per week, or whatever with this one batch of kids?
I think initially it's one class for one teaching period.
Okay. I just wonder
And
what your
then
vision.
it starts growing where, you know, maybe the next is a class for 2 teaching periods, and, you know, as demand increases, hopefully at some point it's a class for every teaching period.
I just wondered what your vision was.
Yeah.
What it's going to look like.
Yes.
At least in your mind.
I'm familiar with the Gilmer County one. They started off basically as a club, and then they moved into that Christian learning area. And from that point is where they started building up from, and I think their club met once a week. And then it got more and more and more and more and more people started coming to it, and it started growing into a learning center. There for a while, it was just a club. So I don't know how many years that was.
Yeah.
You reminded me of another question I had, I just didn't have it written down. These other counties that you have talked to, have they had any requests from any other religions to open a facility comparable to that?
That's a good question.
One of the things in public school system we have to be very aware of, if we're going to do it for one, we may have to do it for all and, you know, split out.
Yep.
So there may be some Muslim parents in this county that say, we want a Muslim learning center, you know, whatever. How do you address that?
Well, first of all, I'm not aware of any of them that's had that. I know in Dawson County, they had a pushback from the anti-religious folks that opposed it, okay? But here, this is Don's opinion, okay? If a Muslim group wants to come do it under the Supreme Court decision, you don't have a choice but to let the Muslim group do it.
Right, and
Right.
if you're raising your own money and doing it,
Right.
I understand they would probably just have to go do their own thing.
Right.
But it's just something that we always have to think about, and I was just wondering how you
Absolutely.
would address it.
Yeah.
So if I'm taking this, it would start somewhat like our driver's education program has started. We reintroduced it, one class, there's such a demand for it that now we're starting to look at how and when we can add some more. So that's kind of where you're going to start and what you're eventually going to work with.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback on that too, this is very similar to like our kids at the high school who leave the high school and go to Chat Tech for a class, you know, during the school day. And so it'd be very similar. Mr. Boggess talked about, the time and everything. We start registration early. I mean, our kids registered for next fall's classes in February, so there's, some students may not be able to fit it in at the start, but I do think, we have a couple of good models close by. Gilmer is one of the oldest CLCs in the state, and then Fannin is a little bit younger than that, but it is separate from our system, so it is totally community generated, and that means that if there's transportation needs, CLC takes care of it. Location needs, they take care of it. Even certification, accreditation, they take care of it. I mean, this is separate from our board with that.
Don, I had one more, liability issues from us to you. How does that work?
It's ours. It's our
The complete liability?
complete liability. When we pick those kids up, it becomes our liability.
Okay.
There is, the very last page of that handout is, and I did it just by Googling, so it's, and I did note on there, it's not a complete list, but there is a list of where the CLCs are. And I noted on a few of them how long they've been around.
Dr. Thomas mentioned certifications. Is there a larger board that is like the umbrella for all of the different counties, or are you totally independent?
No, totally independent.
Okay.
Yep, that was part of my problem Googling, because there's not a
Okay.
larger cert, yeah.
Is there any startup costs for the county?
No, it's just,
No
it's
seed
all,
money or anything
no.
like that?
Any other questions for Mr. Bogus? Again, this wanted, he and I have had several conversations about this, and just wanted him to kind of come and spend some time with us. I do appreciate him taking point on this possibility, for us. And I do think it is something that our kids, you touched on a little bit ago, Don. I do think our kids could benefit from it, and again, it's interesting because there are several systems that have something in place, and so it's not us creating it, it's trying to replicate what some of these systems have done.
Just going from memory, there was a question popped up, like with driver's ed and some other things. How seamlessly would that fit into a scheduling situation at the high school? And I guess, we couldn't answer that question. Maybe somebody tell us how that would fall in.
I mean, it would be, to your point though, that kids would have to make a choice, right? If it's taking a class at Chet Tech, or maybe a driver's ed class, or, another, because it is an elective, it's an elective unit, so there would be some choice involved on the student's part. And the hope would be after a certain number of years, there could be multiple offerings, not just third block, but maybe second, third, and fourth block, but that's, I think Mr. Boggs is right, that's really a stretch when we start this, though. Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, Don, if you're looking probably, if this all gets kicked off, 25? You said.
I would hope so.
Okay.
I would hope so. That's aggressive. I've got, with positive feedback here, I would immediately go start securing the land and then start working on the building.
Please don't think that I was being at all critical of your program, but we are on camera, and I'm trying to think of questions that perhaps the public has.
Oh, no,
when they're
no.
watching the
Yes.
video, just to see what kind of.
Didn't take it that way at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
But appreciate you coming in.
No. I appreciate the questions, because I know we'll continue to get them. So.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Boggs? Don, thank you for coming in.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. Okay, working our way through the agenda. At this time, we'll turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Chris Parker. Mr. Parker is going to provide us with a few updates with transportation. Our custodians, we're bringing those in-house, and then some social media guidelines. So, Mr. Parker, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I know they're not here now, but the prep and the force people, how about that? Presentation, and then Dawn, regardless of your questions, brought something that was free to us. I got transportation, custodians, and social media, so yeah, it tells you where I line up in that pecking order. So I said it on camera too.
We laughed on
At least
camera.
you know I wouldn't talk about you behind my back.
More handouts,
It's my favorite part of the show.
special.
I'm sorry.
No, I don't think so. I think we went back and forth on the times and how that would work with transportation. It is my understanding that transportation is moving on nicely. They're trying to clean up some people that may only ride in the morning or only ride in the afternoon, and we have them slotted for both. I think you guys have heard some of that ad nauseum, but that is getting inputted now. We're cleaning up routes, and they're very confident, 100% confident that we're ready to tell you what we know we can do with routes. And so, Dr. Thomas gave the piece of paper. We wanted to, obviously the junior high and high school will be the exact same. This is information we conveyed before, but we wanted to give confirmation. The other schools could move up 30 minutes, which would close the gap to 15 minutes between start times at the junior high and high school and the other schools. So as you can see in the handout you have, and that is how we would probably post this with your blessing next week, with a graphic that explained the times, and with the wording above that kind of would, if you're looking at it on social media, I guess there would be that blurb plus the picture below that. There'll still be a lot of questions. There's stuff to work out with drop-off times and after school and some of that. But half of the students will have the exact same schedule. Nothing would change. And the other half would be keeping their same schedule but bumping up the time, meaning whatever normally occurred at 1:15 would occur at 12:45. Whatever that was, and whatever normally occurred at 7 would occur at 6:30. Now, after school would not. After school would still go to 6 o'clock. So that the parents, as far as worried about the time that a parent would drop their student off, if they're a drop-off, to picking them up, I don't think would change at all. I think right now it's 7:30 to 6 essentially. Like the schools are open about 7:30 to 6 p.m.
And that's a big concern for parents to work
Right.
outside the home.
That doesn't change. Okay. Now what happens in between 7:30 and 6 doesn't change for half the students. And for the other half, 30 minutes more, because of principals especially, but teachers too, expressed an enormous amount of concern for getting as many of the younger kids learning before lunch as possible. They report a much higher success rate teaching students, kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth grade, and that level especially, before lunch. So if lunch is happening at 12 and you start school at 8:30 or you start school at 8, it's two different things. They feel like that's vital. Last year we did help them a little bit with some of the times as far as their planning, but we did not help with more before lunch, right? So because of the work the transportation department's done, we have a better understanding of how we can use our same 56, 57 routes to still get those kids to school and back without having to utilize the people running two routes, which is what was really stopping it from being basically within reason, everybody going to school at the same time. And if you're not talking about financials, or you're not talking about, you're just talking about what's best for kids, most districts would tell you that going around the same time for everybody is what's best. Now, sometimes because we still have enough bus drivers, we're fortunate that we do. I know sometimes we've had our moments, but we do have more. We don't have 30 drivers that have to run two routes each, and that makes 60 routes. If we have 60 routes, we have close to 60 drivers. Okay, that's a blessing. A lot of people don't have that. We're fortunate enough that we can go closer together, and we weren't many years ago. So that wasn't something that you were misinformed on years ago. That's something that's gotten better, and the routes have gotten better. We cleaned up the routes, but also we've retained the drivers by the board allowing us to pay them more, by trying to take care of them. We are not having near the attrition in transportation that we have had. Those are facts. Like I can show you that so because of that, and we've hired a few, along the way, hiring more than we're losing. We are very confident that running the students within reason at the same time is the best model for the kids. Like I said, it's not more drivers overall, but we could have cut a couple more routes if we kept it the old way. But as you guys have done, we're going to do what's best for the students over what may save $1 here and there sometimes. So, most people in education would report that going at the same time is a good move. Now, we're not going at the exact same time because of traffic, and maybe you may have to drop 2 kids off at different schools or whatever. The older kids will still get off the bus before the younger kids, maybe very slightly before. But there's still some of the things like that we heard people's concern on that we think is the best for everybody. No start or end time is going to make everybody happy. But I'm here to report for transportation that this is doable. We're ready to tell everybody, and so that means it's happening.
Tell them.
Yeah, so we just want your blessing to make sure that we can post that and start training.
We had teachers pleading with us to give more time, more educational time
Before lunch.
before
Yeah.
lunch. And, you know, we couldn't just flip the switch because we had concerns with how we're gonna make work with routing, and that was the discussion a year ago when this came up.
Yeah.
And it's, y'all done a magnificent job of getting it to where we can flip that switch.
When I first got in this exact role, which would have been about 6 years ago now, they were talking about this, and it was like, hey, we'll hire us 12 bus drivers and we'll do it, or hire us 11, or hire us 14, or there was always a number. And for whatever reason, gradually we lowered that number, and then we cleaned the routes up, and we got that to 0, which is a really good accomplishment that they really had been working on before I heard about it, but it's at least over the last 6 or 8 years. Trying to clean that up. And of course, one of the things you gotta do is retain the current drivers, because it's important. I hope they understand how much we appreciate them. The board has made sure to show them. I mean, our bus drivers are paid better than anybody. I put ours up against anybody's. I say it with the camera running, I put ours up against anybody's, and that's the board that made that decision, so we're trying to take care of them so we're not losing them, but then gain a few along the way. My next thing's about, should I just transition, or do you want to talk about this?
I guess just make sure, are we okay to push this out?
I'm gonna put it.
I mean, I'd like to go ahead and push this out the first of the week with our, on Infinite Campus and our social media, just let them know what's happening.
Yeah. Another Tom, if it's okay, I purposely produced that as it would look in Infinite Campus or on Facebook or something like that. So I'm open to suggestions if we're missing something that, like if there's more information needed or less. I mean, there's gonna be more questions. We're well aware. There's gonna be plenty of questions. It's okay.
Now, I think probably a good idea when it's pushed out to say, hey, we heard you. We heard you. We just couldn't flip that switch immediately. That's basically what I said. But now.
Yeah, it took 2 years to get, 2 years specifically with time changes to get to that. What'd you have, Joe? Did you have something?
Yeah, so this is set up, which is a great step, but is there gonna be a progression to keep going? We're not just done here, are we?
I think it would be something that, you want me to answer?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's something that the board approves with it, whether the boards of the past do it or not, they're approving this every year. So every year you're approving what the start and stop times are. So it can be discussed to flip them like we talked about originally. I think the flipping, this is making that less imperative, like making it less where it must happen. So you can do that for a while, or you may see how it goes and do it for a while. I don't think you have to commit to that today. I think you can say today, we'll try it and see. As far as flipping the routes, so you guys know, where that becomes a concern is now everybody's bus changes. And that's okay. But we just have to know in probably January or so. This is more about us pushing this out on Facebook to let parents know, and that's fine. We've got it, we're ready. But the logistics behind flipping the routes was much more difficult. So we would probably need to talk about that toward December, for whatever year. I mean, it doesn't have to be this coming December, not trying to heighten anybody, but either way, whatever year, just keep that part in mind. That flipping them if Johnny got on the bus right now at 7 o'clock, Johnny gonna get on the bus at 6:30. If Johnny got on the bus at 7:30, get on at 7 o'clock. Everything, just 30 minutes up, do exactly what you did right now. And then some individual students will have their buses changed. I'm not saying they won't because we've got to consolidate. But for the vast majority of people, we'll be doing the same thing they're doing now, and we just close that gap. So it's a little bit easier to manage logistically.
So for clarity, say, when we first started, we wanted to flip.
Mm-hmm.
But if we could get to the point where everybody is on the same time frame, we'd be a great.
Yeah, it's not the,
That way easier.
right.
But that becomes a logistic problem.
I do think, so y'all know, I think this is as close to that, Joe, as we probably want. Just because if every single school started at 8 o'clock, or everyone starts at whatever it was, there is some logistics to not flowing that out. Maybe think of buses being on the road at the exact same time, coming from 2 different places, or somebody trying to drop their student off at the junior high in Harmony, you know, which are pretty close, but now if they're starting 15 minutes difference, they know they got to go to junior high first, then Harmony because 15 minutes difference. So I think this has probably closed that gap. Now, to answer your question, I don't think until recently we all understood we even could do this, as far as having the bus drivers plus the routes plus what we needed. Now, like I said, I'm being maybe overly transparent, but I make sure it's not the financially, like we could totally take double, triple routes of things and you'd save some money. You'd pay bus drivers to do 2 routes, but they wouldn't get double the pay. And overall, it would, that's not the message we got. And I know that's something so while this is not a bad financial decision, I don't want to say like that, but it's not the absolute cheapest way to do it. It's not. But it does get everybody going about the same time. So I don't think they thought they had that option before, Joe. Like I think they thought somebody had to go early, somebody had to go late, and the argument was elementary should go early. And that was why they wanted to flip, right?
Right.
Well, we didn't necessarily give them that third option, which is we basically all go at the same time. And now there's a 15-minute gap, so we could always look at doing it at the exact same time, but I actually think the 15-minute gap is probably kind of like doing it at the exact same time. Also think about, big concern Dr. Thomas and I heard over and over was Jasper Middle School gradually has allowed more and more 6th grade students to participate. Now it could be band, at the junior high, it could be chorus, drama, but a lot of sports, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, tennis. Well, they get out 45 minutes apart now. So a student that leaves Jasper Middle School at 3:30 has missed half of practice. You know, there's some little things like that cause some concerns. And then some of the time, maybe that in a game day, the parent may be checking the kid out and then they're missing their class. We definitely don't want that. So there's some little things like that going around the same time. So if we flipped them, it'd just be the opposite, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
that's the reason I was talking about to the same time.
Yeah.
Because the truth of it is, if we're clear, if everybody's clear on it, if you come into school at the same time and getting back at the same time, then you can run all your academics or all your sports or whatever at the same time, and you won't have no controversy.
Right.
That's my.
That would, I mean, and this will be as close to that as we can do for this year, but it definitely is something to reevaluate. You guys, like I said, just like many of the things you guys approve, even if we keep it the same, you're approving it every year. So you have the authority, obviously, to tell us you want to look at it next year. I just want to warn that any kind of flipping it would actually change logistics, and that's okay. Totally do it, but we do need a little more of a heads up than maybe you would think with that. This one, the transportation group was able to do because, like I said, most things just shifted up. Like they kept the times at whatever they had. They moved it up 30 minutes. So if Hill City's doing reading at 12 o'clock, they're doing 11:30 now. You know what I mean? There's nothing really to talk about. It's the same schedule, just 30 minutes up. And like I said, students, as far as parent drop off, which this may be the thing, this is the thing I anticipate people asking questions about. Their drop off and their pickup, as of right now anyway, drop off we may have to tweak by 5 or 10 minutes. We're still working on that. But 7:30, 6 o'clock, like keep in that mind. You drop your kid off 7:30, you can pick them up before 6 o'clock. Now, I mean, there's after school programs that cost them not, but we're not bumping that stuff. So if you're concerned that you got to get your kid by 5:30 now, that's not accurate. The after school program go to 6 o'clock like it always has. The difference is that instruction happening 30 minutes before lunch, and after school happening 30 minutes more after lunch, right? That's what the principals, actually 2 different sets of principals, as Joe and I were on a group last year, reported they would like.
And when we flip this switch sometime, maybe 9 weeks in next year, I'd love to get
some feedback.
Yeah. From these principals, make, what could we do better? How is this working? That way we understand what their needs are a little better.
Yeah.
So are we okay if we just go ahead and start pushing this out on Monday?
I'm agree.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Parker, what I hear you saying is that we are putting the students ahead of finances?
Mhm. And we have, this group has and the groups before them haven't often. I mean, we have, you guys done a great job of doing that, not to a fault or irresponsibly, but to take care of kids and do what's best. And it's hard to do what's best for everybody. You're never gonna make everybody happy. And this won't either. This won't either.
Well, this has been
But-
what the board has talked about in
Yeah.
many different situations, is that the kids come first.
Right. And you've been a part of many of the, if we only had 10 more bus driver talks, right? So this is what they meant, was they couldn't do this because they didn't have enough bus drivers. Well, now we have netted a few more bus drivers over the last few years, plus, we've cleaned up some routes. So, yeah, excited to do this, and the people at Transportation did a good job with that. They did.
They worked hard on it.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
And the survey that Transportation sent out to parents this week, about the rider needs, that's important that be filled out.
Yeah, they're giving it,
So that parents pay attention to that.
yeah, what they're doing is, especially at the K-8, this is a K-8 issue, but everybody has a homeroom or, a classroom. If you're a first grade class, you got 20 students in your class maybe. And we've had, those 20 students, those elementary teachers know, if y'all been in elementary school, they know who rides in the morning, afternoon, both, neither. That's basically your 4 options for bus. You ride in the morning, afternoon, both, or neither. And what the transportation people are trying to do in an effort to be fiscally responsible, in an effort to make this as cost-effective as possible, if there is a student that right now we have slated for a seat on the bus AM and PM, but they're telling us right now they're never gonna ride in the morning. And then on that same route, there's a student that's just the opposite. Then we may be able to get another student on that bus and be more efficient. I mean, I know that, and that's the things you guys have heard on transportation. I mean, the vast majority of transportation routing is done and has been done. It's getting into that last, just like any projects you guys do, that last 10% is really hard. And so that last 10% we're kind of talking on, we want to know where every kid's parent has signed them up, AM, PM, or both, or neither. And then we can really increase those routes and make them even more effective, more efficient. So that's what, if you got something on the campus or you saw something, that's what they're trying to get every teacher to just go. And in some cases, we want the parent to fill that out. But those teachers at elementary school usually already know. By the middle school, the teacher may not know as well. They're having to count on the kid to tell them as a parent. But then each teacher is entering in 20 students instead of somebody entering 4,500 students or 4,000 students. So the teacher's been good with that. Principal's been good. Been a team effort. But we've really had to modernize some of the routing stuff. We really have. I know you guys have heard it a lot, but we really have had to modernize some routing. And once we get this done, it's in there. And then they just have to change it. So we're not sending that same message every year. They're just having to change it if they want to change it. But right now, nothing's in it for campus. Everything was, just more paper driven or more. So this Todd can run a report every day, tell you exactly how many things. It's but that's what you got, Tommy, with that. That's what they're cleaning up, that last 5-10% of just making it maximum efficiency, which we're close, but we're not there yet.
Okay, go ahead. Yep.
The next thing, I guess, to my point, was custodian update. And I wanted to talk about, we had a job fair on Tuesday, and I was really, really pleased with that. So I went to, be careful how I say this since Mary's recording me. I went to the job fair at the RISA, and it was a teacher job fair. And not many people showed up. And I don't know that anybody showed up that wanted to work at Pickens, and I spent the whole Saturday there. It was great. But I was thinking we should do something here, because even if only 10 people came, well, they came just to work in Pickens County. So we set something up. We had to hire the custodians anyway, so it kind of coincided with that. And we're like, custodian, food service, bus drivers, and if we had teachers or parapros or subs, where right now we don't have many, because sub pool's way up, by the way, almost 100% fill rate, unbelievable. Best we ever had, pre-COVID, any of that. So not that we wouldn't take new subs, but we're not actively seeking more subs, which is the first time ever since I've been in this job. Parapros, because of ARP funding and things like that, we have absorbed, most of the parapros that have left, we've let somebody take the job that was on ARP, right? So we don't have a lot of openings. And teachers right now, we just don't have many openings. So the job fair became more custodian, food service, and bus drivers. But we had every principal there, all 6 principals. We had Beth Thompson there and we had Todd, and he brought some of the trainers, one to Tibble and Dan Bowles, and told me before I go off about custodians, they did a fantastic job selling transportation, and that's what I mean. We picked up one driver came, that was already had a CDL, has been driving in another district, and she just wanted a job. You know, we're ready to go on her. She'll have to do some local training, but we'll have to do our due diligence and reference checks and back, you know, all that stuff before you guys see it. But that's one driver ready to go, and then had 2 more willing to go through. Had about 25 people show up to the job fair, and I mean, we left with at least 10, maybe more genuine offers for jobs. I mean, like people that, and it looked like some good. Beth Thompson had a receiving line. She had about 6 deep at one point. And she was ecstatic. And the food service has been tough. They've been down all year. So you guys approved like maybe 36 food service employees in the budget, and they run anywhere between 30, 32 all year. They just haven't been able to fill those spots. They just do it with, every now and then they get subs that can help them part-time, but most of the time they just go down and just 4 people do what 6 oughta, and it's just been hard to get people to do those jobs. And putting those people in front of Beth was really effective, like she really did. So I'm hoping we can bring some of those people to you soon. But we had verbally anyway, without board approval, without getting all the paperwork to you guys, we had 10 or 12, you know, just really increases to the team. And that was great, because I didn't care if we had 200 people show up if only 5 of them wanted to move here, which is what happens when you go to these bigger places. I wanted everyone that came through the door to know what, and they did. So 25 people came in there all wanting a job, and they all met the principal. We had a teacher, a certified teacher that moved into the area that just said she wanted to meet the principal. She's an elementary teacher. We don't have any elementary openings right now, but she wanted to meet the principals, and then Scott Stevens talked her into taking maybe an open parent job that may come open if one of the parent leaves it. And so you'd have a certified teacher in that parent spot, you know, waiting for his spot. And so it's just a good opportunity for anybody in the community. That's why it is good while the camera's rolling. And we want to kind of do that. We want to do that annually now. Now that we've done that, we want to keep doing it. And if, you know, if you want to work, and if you want to talk about the principal about other stuff, we can't do that. But we'll take 2 hours. And if you want to talk to the principal, meet the principal, talk about being a bus driver, talk about food, because it was good. It can't always be on the internet, just clicking a thing to sign up and we call you back. That it was interesting to see how some responded better to being able to come talk to somebody. And of course, we want to offer every avenue we can. Some people don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to click the online stuff, and that's fine too. But that was a really good thing. So I said all that to say, we had around 65 different custodian applications. Now, to be politically correct, we plan on hiring about 35, and ABM told us they could never have more than 27 or 8, even though they also had 35 spots. They were not able to ever keep it full. Now, I'm not saying that they're not telling the truth. I'm not. I'm just telling you, they said they were not able to be fully staffed, and we have nearly double the staff we need attempting to get those jobs. It's actually created, you know, a little bit of issues because we can't interview everybody. Like the principals are going through these applications, they're selecting who they want to interview. And so we're interviewing as many as we can. But that's a good problem to have. You know, it's a good problem to have. Sometimes in those roles, we've had to just hire basically everybody that applied, you know, and we're not doing that. So right now, I think we got about 6. We're trying to hire 35. We've got almost 30 locked down, mostly for you to approve next Thursday. You know, we're working on the behind the scenes stuff, doing our part to get them to you. But on Thursday night, we anticipate you having a pretty heavy custodian PAR. You know, I'd say maybe half of these people, maybe a little bit less, are some of our current people that the principal selected, wanted to keep, and then many of them are new, you know, new to the district. And it was interesting at job fair how many people came in that were mothers, you know, people that want to build insurance, things that probably weren't available before. So I commend the board for, you know, doing, you know, taking that in house is going to be a little more attractive to, you know, the moms and to the people that need insurance and things, you know, school insurance, things like that. So that we all knew that was probably the case, but it was nice to see that really happening. So, yeah, we're ready to go on custodians. I mean, Jacob Poole has been working with us and hitting some of that up, and he has been fantastic. I mean, I'm telling you, 600 something people work here. I don't know that any of them are working as hard as Jacob Poole is. He's doing a fantastic job. So of leading and also leading by example, because he works. But he's helped me, and Chris Williams has, and Mr. Wallace has too. They're doing a good job of helping us get going on what we need. They're meeting with ABM in the next couple of weeks. Plan is, we've already bought stuff, or in the process of ordering, it hadn't gotten here yet. You got to get supplies, you got to get floor buffers, you got the supplies things. Jacob's been down, he went down to a show in Atlanta last week, worked with a few vendors on getting a consistent run of paper products and things like that. We've got our first order in, we're working on with corporate purchasing, doing the typical school thing with that. But we're having to do it, that's what the ABM was doing for us before. So, and then for the equipment, we're meeting with ABM next, I don't know if they have a date for that, but it's in the coming weeks. They meet with ABM and we're gonna buy some of their stuff, whatever we can, which they're fine. ABM's actually been really well. They've done a really good job working with us. They have in transition. And so we're gonna get some of their stuff, and then we're obviously buying some new stuff too. So we'll have a hybrid of both. But if they've got stuff that they're not interested in keeping and they're trying to get rid of pretty easily, then low price, then we're gonna take that stuff too. So Jacob's working on that deal too. So it's going really well, but it is a lot of work. I mean, we take on a whole new group. It's a lot of work for human resources, processes, a lot of work for Jacob and the people organizing, but the principals have been really receptive, and the principals are appreciative of this, by the way. They were very appreciative, even though it's more work on them. They were excited to have the opportunity to hire these people, to select who they wanted. The principal's in charge of the school. Not even us, the principal's in charge. So we told them they work for ABM, they work for ABM. If they work for Pickens, they work for principal. So the principal's been involved, done a great job, and Jacob and Chris Williams and I are meeting with the principals in the coming weeks, probably in the first week of June or so, to help them set up a schedule for the custodians. I think we told you guys last time, but we want our custodians working during the day. We don't want them having to work all night. We want them here just like everybody else. They're gonna work basically 7 to 6 when the doors are open. And, we'll stagger them. They're not all working 7 to 6, don't be scared. Staggered. Some of them will work 7 to 3 or so, and some of them work 10 to 6. But, the principals were a little leery of some of the scheduling. Like they don't know how custodians work. So Jacob's gonna work with them individually on a plan, to put these in the lunchroom during this time. These are going to classrooms to clean. There are different bathrooms you gotta hit it's a logistical thing. And right now we throw our hands up for ABM, right? We're like, not our problem. We can't do that anymore. You got to be better, and it's got to be something that's really, really effective and makes it way better. Because it is one of the things too. It costs a little bit more too, right? And that's okay. Nothing wrong with costing more. What's bad is if it costs more and you get the same result.
Oh yeah.
Right. So we're not accepting that. That's not happening, and it's not going to happen. So we're all aware of that. People doing a great job, and really, really happy with the custodian. It's going really smooth, but it is a lot of work, and so. We'll let you know when we're finished, but yeah. So social media.
Go ahead. Any questions about custodians? We just update on that.
So what you're saying is people actually want to come work here?
Sure.
Yay!
Sure. Y'all done a great job. So, we have not struggled to hire in any position that's been open. Like I said, limiting, it helps. There's a couple of caveats. We hired a ton of people last year, so that helped. And it, the art positions leaving allowed us some buffer the positions are a little more valuable now because we don't open them as often. And so when we do open them, we got some great people out there that we would love to hire that we just don't have a job to hire them in. Like great teachers, people from here who've graduated that we'd love to hire back. Yeah, I hope they'll hang in there with us or get to us when they can, but that's where we are. But that's a good problem to have. Instead of scrambling around begging folks, which is where we've been.
How many other school systems do you think have that problem right now?
Yeah, I'd say not as many. Yeah, retention is a big problem, and most people are having to create a lot of jobs. We've been very fortunate in that, and it's a testament to everybody in here, testament to you guys, and a testament to Dr. Thomas, and the stability that we're trying to build through that. Yeah, I really do believe that.
Good.
I think our administration teams have a lot to do with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably should have said that. Most people will stay at a place with the boss, and they see their boss as the principal, not us. Y'all know that. I mean, they don't see any of us as their boss. They see the principal as their boss, and people have been very happy with the principals. They really have, overall. So, social media, next great topic. So, you gonna pass that out?
Yeah, they got it.
You already have?
Yeah.
Give me one. You got one, maybe? So I don't know what I'm referencing. There you go. Yeah, sorry, I should have brought one. Did you get one? It should say guidelines for engaging. Okay. So, this is a newfangled thing for schools and government and agencies. So, it's two things are at odds with social media. We want to inform, we really do, contrary to what some may think. We want to inform and be transparent on everything. We do. And by doing so, you constantly get criticized, right? So the rule had been for years in what we know in legal issues. One of my jobs, even when I was doing HR only, I was also kind of the legal issues guy to go to conference and whatever. And the rule was, put whatever you want on, I'll say Facebook as a metaphor for all social media, okay? So put what you want on Facebook, but you either have to open comments or don't. That if you let people comment, you can't stop in the middle of it. Freedom of speech, etc., let them go at it. You just gotta throw your hands up. Or when you first post that comment, there's Mark, Mary probably knows more about this than I do, but there's some way you can just turn the comment off or make it where only people tagged can comment or something like that. And therefore nobody can comment. And there's nothing wrong with either one. Comment or no comment. But you can't stop midway. You can't post something and then somebody says something bad and then you just cut them off. That's been the rule for really like 15 years or so, since the invention of that kind of stuff. Or how we interpreted it anyway. Let me say it that way. That's how we interpreted the rule. Well, what we're finding is more and more things, on social media are turning either political or national political, or somebody's, they're just turning into something that's not what it's intended for. Okay, and so in a spirit of not to quit posting, like we want to continue being transparent and continue putting the things out we're putting out, we're going to need to look at our guidelines on how to change that. So what we have found, and we got this particular document you're looking at is very similar to what Cherokee County has adopted as their procedure. This is not a board policy ration change like GSBA, but it is a procedure that we would ask your permission to implement. And Cherokee County does this almost verbatim. And our Cherokee's lawyers looked at it, ours have. They're looking at a copy.
Yeah.
And what it basically does is a midpoint. So now let me explain to you what the midpoint is of what I just said. So we can let people comment because most of the time it's actually nice. We want people to be engaged. We want them to ask questions. We want them, but there's a list of 12 things that if someone were to do, we would, let me make sure you hear me on this word, we would hide their comment. Let me tell you what hide means. So the reason we couldn't delete, so the rule hasn't really changed. It's just how courts have interpreted this stuff has changed a little, okay? So the rule is we can't delete anybody's post. Well, we're not going to delete anybody's post, but we can say in a matter of public concern, this is inappropriate. So say, for example, somebody used racial language. I'll give you like somebody using racial language in a post. We're not obligated to let that go because we can't delete one post if we let them post. We can use this, hey, no, we're not putting up with that. But the method we have to do, and of course we've had to do some homework on this, I do some learning. But what we have to do then is hide that post. Now when you hide it, Joe looks at it, it's gonna look like we deleted it. You're not gonna see it, it's gonna look the exact same to you as if we deleted it. The difference is we didn't delete it. So if that person that made that racial comment wanted to sue us for violating that law, then we could show them that we did not delete it, we hid it, and here's why we hid it. It violated one of these 12 things. number one, no racial comments, blah, blah, right? So here was the comment, we can print it off. See, the problem is deleting it, we deleted it. You can never show anybody what it said, right? So the medium point of that is, we're gonna continue, we're trying not to just not let people comment, although sometimes when it is controversial, right? When it is something that we just wanna put information out, we may turn off the comments. I'm not saying we won't, that'll happen some. And that's probably sometimes in the best interest because it's not really a matter of debating or congratulating, but if we put out there, congratulations Jasper Middle School for blank, 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 we kind of want grandma to get on there and say congratulations. So we're not going to turn off comments on that. But if it turns racial or any of these other 11 things, then we're going to monitor it and try to hide those comments. So I think it's a happy medium, and it's a thing that now schools are, all schools like you guys did, you guys encouraged us to get better at communicating, to get better at getting information out, and I do think we are. We still got a ways to go. But in doing that, it creates these things, right? So now we got to come up with some new procedures to combat that. So you're seeing more and more school districts adopting something like this, yeah.
Who's monitoring? I mean, do you have a team that who's monitoring?
We have a team of like me and Jennifer and Alex. Usually Jennifer, me and Alex just happen to kind of be on her team a little since she works for me, so we monitor it a little. But I'll be lying if I said we're going to be able to like snap people off like the minute they put something they shouldn't. We don't have that capability. But, typically small town stuff, we get told pretty quick. I have a Facebook, I hardly ever click on it for many reasons. But not much gets on there that somebody doesn't tell me about. So, I'd be lying if I said we're going to be able to instantaneously fix things, but we do get people, and we've had people message us through our private messaging on the district site with things like, hey, y'all need to take that down, or you need to look at what so-and-so said, or whatever. And right now, we're throwing our hands up at that. We're really just not responding. But we can at least go look at it, and if it is one of these 12 things, then we'll hide it, right? And we probably won't say another word about it. We're not going to make a public noting that we hid something. We're just going to hide the post. But if that person ever came back and said, you, the board, and the superintendent violated their freedom of speech, we will post this. Now, we will post this, so people would be able to see this. That, by violation of this, we did hide your comment. And if they said it didn't say that, we can print it off and say, yeah, it did.
Right.
Because we didn't delete it, right? So that's where the hiding is, hiding versus deleting. And by the way, I learned this recently. So I'd be lying if I said I understood that a few weeks ago. But my stance had always been, we just either let comments or we didn't. And now that's not, because it's just modern times, that's not really good enough. There has to be a medium of what's allowable and what's not. And things like racial language is probably the easiest thing to understand it.
Vulgar language.
Yeah.
Is there anything here about comments that are made with little or no real information behind them? People just take pot shots at us.
I mean, I think if something is made, let's see. I mean, I'll see if there's anything that personally identifiable or that compromises anything. I know that's in there. And I think, let's see. I think number 6 is probably the most vague of them, which says comments that are unrelated to the topic that is the subject of the post. We're not hiding every single thing that might vaguely be different, but there is an element of if they take it somewhere else or make it personal or something, then you would. But this is just a good procedure to have. I mean, my prayer is we never do anything. 99% of the people we engage with on social media are fantastic. They really are. Most of them really appreciate the stuff we put out. They're supportive back. Most of the comments are literally just a congratulations, a thank you, something like that. But we do live in an era where we have to have some procedures in place if we need that. Yeah.
I appreciate all your work.
Yeah. So kind of to let you know where we are, we have submitted this document to our attorney just to make sure that he'll approve it. And this is in line with what other districts have done. But it gives us a little bit more, I guess jurisdiction is maybe the wrong word, but it does kind of help us hide things we need to hide.
It just
You know,
clarifies,
that's
and it
right.
clarifies what we can do, and we're telling you guys, so in an effort of transparency,
Yeah.
we're telling you how and why we're gonna do it. And Jennifer Wilson did all the work on this. I have to give her all the credit. She explained that to me, and I'm just explaining to you. So, we've got some good people. We really have. I mentioned a few of them today, but we got some more that I didn't mention that really are working hard, you know, right now and making some of this stuff transition a lot better. So, thank you, Dr. Thomas.
Yeah, any other questions, Mr. Parker? Social media or anything else? Mr. Parker, thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Way to go, Mr. Parker.
Our last goal area is organizational and operational effectiveness. I just want to kind of share a couple things with you, and then we'll wrap it up. More paper. This is the last one, though, Joe. Okay.
Here's you another tree.
So, I did want to share with you a couple things regarding just what our numbers are looking like with enrollment at our elementary schools. And last year, you know, we did offer school choice, not for Tate though, and that will not change for this year. So Tate will not be a school choice option. But I do want to call your attention that we're really approaching. In fact, we're over the number of what our class size target is for third grade at Hill City, and we are very, very close for fourth grade at Hill City, as well as third and fourth grade at Harmony. Okay, so I want to show this information or share this with you. You know, we do need to have a recommendation. I'll have one for you on Thursday about school choice, but I do think that third and fourth grade at Hill City and Harmony are off the table. Okay, so if we're able to offer school choice, it will be our younger grades at those schools. But I wanted to share that with you. Okay, any questions or comments about that?
Yeah, that's
not good.
Well, it's good that we've got full classes. You know, it is good. You know, but again, just kind of looking at the data, you know, we are approaching what our target class size is for third grade and fourth grade at both of those elementary schools. So, I will have a recommendation for you on Thursday that we can look at, but I just want to kind of share this with you because it is one of those things where if we offer school choice, it can't be for those grade levels. Okay? So any questions about that? Joe, you look like you're deep in thought.
Well, I'm just meditating on it more. It gives me more room to say we need more room. We do.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a continuing thing for the next few years. We're gonna need some more room in these elementary schools.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing I've got on the agenda is just items for our consent agenda for Thursday night, and just to kind of go through that with you briefly. We do have financial reports we'll approve, as well as the MOU with Georgia State that will approve, some out-of-state overnight field trips, minutes, and then some surplus items. That'll be the consent agenda on Thursday. And just a reminder, Thursday's board meeting will be at the junior high for our recognition night as opposed to here. And then my last item on our agenda is our work session dates for the summer. Mr. Williams and I had a conversation last week about this, and then Tommy, you and I did on Saturday morning. In the summer, the month of June, and for most of July, we typically work 4 10-hour days. Okay, so our work sessions have been typically the Friday before the Thursday board meeting. But in the month of June and in early July, we're working, again, 4 10-day weeks. We will not be working on Friday. So I did want to have just some conversation with you about the possibility of work session dates if we need those in June and July.
I like the idea of whenever possible for us to have a work session because it saves so much time
Absolutely.
during a meeting, and it's not boring the staff to death with questions and what have you that we kind of work through now. So if we need it, we can do it early. You know, we can do it earlier in the week of if we need to.
Well, you and I had that conversation, Tommy, and I'm not opposed to that. I'd rather have if we're gonna have that meeting in June, then we have it, cause I'm, gonna be out on the 3rd, and I think, Amy, you're gonna be out on the 3rd, correct?
The 3rd of which,
June.
no, I'll be the 9th, the week of the 9th.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be out on the 3rd,
Mm.
so, but if you're gonna be out the week of the 9th, that starts, so you won't be here for the board meeting either.
The work session. Mhm.
Our board meeting on the 13th, right?
Is it, yeah, I won't be here for that.
Yeah. So you're saying the 11th, is that what you think, Tommy?
Would that work for?
Would that work for everybody? Would that work? For
If
you?
needed, if needed.
If needed,
No,
yeah.
if needed. Now, July gets really crazy for me early in the month, as most of y'all know, so it's hard for me to say, even a tentative date for July.
How do you feel about it, Dr. Thomas?
Well, I do think that, I mean, I like the idea of moving it to earlier in the week, in June and July, if at all possible. You know,
If needed.
if needed. So we could, if the 11th works with the majority of us for June, we could look at having a work session if we need it on the 11th.
If we need it.
If we need it, on the 11th. I know, you'll be gone, you know, but that would at least, if we need that time to meet before the regular board meeting, we can. And then on the, in the July board meeting is the 11th. And so would you want to stay with that Tuesday? So the 9th?
Hmm.
Ms. Finley, does that work on your end?
The 9th, that's
The
fine.
9th of July? I mean, again, just in the event that we need that.
Okay.
So are you gonna be back, Amy, from your trip? When, are you gonna be back in June? Are you
Yes.
gonna be back by the board meeting?
I'm gonna be gone, I'm gonna be gone from the 8th, which is that Saturday,
Yeah,
till the 16th.
Gotcha.
so you will be out at
Yes.
that board meeting?
Mhm.
Okay. So it doesn't matter to you either way?
I'll support whatever you want, Joe. Whatever.
Okay,
If you like it, I love it.
okay, so we're in.
So we could tentatively say maybe June the 11th. That's a Tuesday.
Make a note,
And then a
July
Tuesday,
9th.
June the 9th, or sorry, July the 9th. And that will get us through the summer if we need those work session times before our board meeting. Okay. All right. Ms. Gibson, that's all I have for our agenda today.
Okay.
Jones?
Hmm?
Okay.
Oh, let's adjourn ourselves and go home.
Sound like
How's that?
it.
Joe, thank you. Do you have a?
I make a motion, we move, and leave, and go.
I make a motion, you go, Jim.